In a time long past, in the deep forests of Germany, there lived 4 weary animals: a donkey, whose back was burdened with years of toil; a hound, whose once keen senses were dulled by neglect; a cat, whose graceful mien belied a life of chasing vermin; and a rooster, whose once proud crow had grown feeble with age. Each had served their masters faithfully until age rendered them useless in the eyes of those who once relied on them. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped low over the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees, the 4 animals met by chance on a winding forest path. They shared stories of mistreatment and neglect, of days spent in toil and nights forgotten in hunger. It was then that they decided to forge a new destiny together, away from the cruelty of their past masters. With a sense of determination, they set their sights on Bremen, a bustling town rumoured to welcome all manner of talents. "Let us become musicians," proposed the donkey, his voice resonating with newfound purpose. The others agreed, for what better way to find solace than through the harmony of music? Their journey was arduous, each step weighed down by the weariness of years and the uncertainty of the path ahead. Yet, guided by a flicker of hope, they pressed on. Days turned into nights, and nights into weary dawns, until at last they reached the outskirts of Bremen. It was there, beneath a canopy of ancient oaks, that they stumbled upon a secluded cottage. Unbeknownst to them, the cottage had been overtaken by a band of ruthless robbers who revelled inside, their mirth echoing through the forest like a sinister melody. The animals approached cautiously, their tired eyes glimpsing the flickering light from within. The donkey, ever bold despite his age, peered through a window and saw a grand feast laid out before the thieves, a feast fit for kings, with goblets brimming with wine and platters overflowing with food. "This shall be our home," declared the hound, his ears twitching at the scent of meat wafting through the air. "Yes, and our stage," added the cat, her eyes gleaming with the promise of mischief. "And our sanctuary," proclaimed the rooster, his voice breaking the stillness of the night. With a newfound resolve, the animals huddled together. The donkey planted his forefeet firmly on the window ledge, the hound leapt upon the donkey's broad back, the cat agilely climbed atop the hound, and the rooster, with a flap of his wings, perched proudly upon the cat's head. As the moon rose high above the trees, casting an ethereal glow upon the cottage, the quartet began their performance. The donkey brayed with all the strength left in his tired lungs, the hound joined in with a deep, resonant bark, the cat added her own melodious meow, and the rooster crowed with a voice that rang out like a clarion call. Inside the cottage, the robbers, startled from their revelry, froze in terror at the unearthly cacophony that filled the air. They exchanged fearful glances, convinced that they were being beset by spirits from the netherworld. With trembling hands, they clutched their weapons and fled into the darkness of the forest, leaving behind their ill-gotten gains and the cottage now silent, but for the gentle rustling of leaves in the night breeze. The animals, triumphant yet wary, cautiously entered the cottage. Their eyes widened in awe at the sight of the abandoned feast, a banquet fit for kings now theirs to enjoy. With bellies full and hearts lighter than they had felt in years, they settled down upon the plush rugs and soft cushions left behind by the robbers. Fatigue from their long journey soon overtook them, and one by one, they drifted into a peaceful slumber. Little did they know, however, that their night of rest would be interrupted. For deep in the heart of the forest, the leader of the robbers, enraged by the loss of his ill-gotten riches, dispatched one of his bravest men to investigate the cottage. Armed with a flickering lantern and nerves of steel or so, he thought the thief crept through the forest shadows and approached the cottage with trepidation. Inside, the animals slept soundly, unaware of the danger that lurked just beyond their sanctuary. The thief, his heart racing with a mixture of fear and determination, cautiously pushed open the creaking door and stepped into the dimly lit room. To his horror, he saw the glowing eyes of the cat, mistaking them for burning coals in the darkness. With trembling hands, he reached for a match, intending to light it against the supposed embers. Startled awake by the intruder, the cat hissed and leapt at him with claws bared, slashing at his face and spitting with fury. The thief stumbled backward in terror, tripping over the hound who growled menacingly in his sleep. Desperate to escape the wrath of the supposed witch and her demonic companions, the thief fled from the cottage, crashing through the underbrush and racing back to his leader with a tale spun from fear and imagination. "There's a monstrous witch in that house," he cried, his voice trembling as he recounted his harrowing encounter. "She spat fire at me and clawed my face with her sharp talons. By the door stands a man with a gleaming blade, ready to strike. In the yard, a beast with a club beat me mercilessly. And atop the roof, a judge presides, calling for my punishment. I barely escaped with my life." The leader of the robbers, unnerved by the tale of supernatural horrors, dared not send another soul to investigate. Convinced that the cottage was haunted by malevolent spirits, he ordered his band to abandon their hideout and flee into the depths of the forest, never to return. And so, the 4 musicians of Bremen found themselves the unwitting owners of a cottage once occupied by thieves. With hearts full of gratitude and bellies full of stolen feast, they embraced their newfound home and the camaraderie they had forged on their journey. From that day forth, the cottage echoed with the joyful melodies of the donkey's braying, the hound's deep barks, the cat's playful meows, and the rooster's triumphant crowing. They lived there happily ever after, a testament to the power of courage, companionship, and the enduring spirit of those who refuse to be defined by age or circumstance. And as for the robbers, they never again dared to venture near the cottage in the woods, their ill-gotten gains lost to the shadows and their tales of terror whispered among the trees, a cautionary reminder of the night they crossed paths with the fearless musicians of Bremen.